everyone. Welcome to Toad TV. Cheers. Cheers. I forgot to put the kettle on this morning, so we're waiting for the water to boil. So we figured we'd podcast. I would like to point out that in true Graham fashion, sitting this close to each other, we can't even fist bump.
Well, actually, I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm like, okay.
And totally miss each other's fists because that's how athletically inclined this family is. Luckily, most of us, I recognize it and don't even try. We do have one brother who just was so desperate to be in sports, and he tried and tried and tried. And
yeah, the Grahams just...
I'm sorry, the genes are strong. We are a studious clan. Oh my gosh. Okay, so welcome to Toad TV. I am Mary Beth.
I'm Helen.
And we are the creative hands and minds behind Toad Hollow. And we have with us today our trusty sidekick Spike, who is going to behave himself, and his sister Drusilla, who is a good dog, right?
And their Tabitha is on the outskirts, which is the grumbling from Spike.
Go. All right, so today we are going to talk about the Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate, which Helen just finished, so that we can now finally talk about it. If you have not read it, we're going to let you know when we're going to hit spoilers, and we strongly suggest that you do not watch the rest of it until you read it, because if you're planning to read it,
the read.
Yeah, so. you don't want to have it spoiled. So it's a really,
I mean, there's nothing overly spoilery. Everything is fairly predictable, but still.
But before we do that, we'll do the advent count or the countdown to Halloween.
Yeah, and we had a couple questions from yesterday.
Okay. I know that somebody I had asked Liz Clothier to put down below whether the pattern that for the bespoke cardigan that I'm making is available yet. It is not. She is. It's still in test status because she's giving everybody plenty of time. Lots of people have lots on their plates right now. So she did mention that if you wanted a looser gauge, you could do it on larger needles. The whole point of this cardigan is to make it fit you and what you like. So it's completely up to you. But I actually am really liking the way it's knitting up right now, and I'm very interested to see how it's going to turn out.
Okay.
All right.
Janet Morgan says she loves your sweater, so pretty and fits you so well. And I have inspired her with the Nick shawl, and she's wondering what we thought about using Carrot and Spellcaster on the Nick shawl. I think they would work. I just think it's blendy because you've got the oranges, so it's not gonna be quite the mermaidy effect. It'll be more a blend. There'll be spots where it is very distinct.
Right.
They are two different oranges.
However, they're very similar.
But they're very similar, so I think you probably want a contrast color for your main color to go with Spellcaster.
So if you wanted to do a gray, like a darker gray, like Illusion, might be interesting for the main color. I'm trying to think.
Still, that's going to blend because of the black.
Okay, so a brown or a green would be good.
And, surprise, surprise.
Mr. Carrisford would be gorgeous.
Acorn would also be really nice.
That's if you would like to have. You're doing acorn the green. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was
kind
thinking
of the color of Mary Beth's sweater.
Yeah. I was thinking acorn fairy. If you don't mind the yellow.
Yeah.
Having the pop of orange coming through that would be really pretty.
Yeah. Beech nut fairy would be nice. That's a nice brown.
Right. Also, if you want to go like fall, have it be Les Rev, the red of Les Rev, or the red of red. Yeah. And then having the orange come through that.
Oh, that red would be pretty.
That would be pretty too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Sorry, all the yarn is downstairs. We don't have any of it up here.
Yeah. I think that was pretty much...
We did have somebody ask how we keep the animals out of the bags of yarn.
Yes.
They're very really good. They don't go in them. They're really very, very good about it. However, it is very difficult to walk through the living room right now without bumping into a bag of yarn because there are so many of them. Because as of last night, all the yarn minis are twisted and in bags.
Yes.
So all we have to do today is
finish up the bags,
lay out all the yarn so that we put them in the right order so that we have them going in the order that we want, and then label them.
And Saturday and Monday shipping notifications will start to go out. So
Yeah.
we are taking birthday day off tomorrow.
Yes. Tomorrow is a birthday, and we are taking the day off and going to spend it with my mom. So that'll be fun. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. I got a package yesterday. Speaking of birthday. My friend Claire sent me some tea towels, and I thought that there are a bunch of you out there that are going to get such a kick out of these, and you'll enjoy them as much as I do.
Do you have where she got them from?
They are from the Radical Tea Towel Company. Okay. This is that one. Isn't that fantastic?
They're so cool.
And it's a really, really nice cotton twill. They're absolutely gorgeous. I love them. So there's this one. And there's this one. This one, oh my God.
The colors the whole theme, it's just perfect.
So that's what that one looks like.
It was a girl power themed package.
Right. So it's the Radical Tea Towel Company, and they're just awesome. So thank you very much, Claire. I love them. Absolutely love them. And I have a plan for them.
Always with the plan.
Always with the plan. Let's see if it works, but I have a plan. Okay. Okay, so.
Open the Advent.
Yep. Here you go. You get to open the Black Needle Society, and I will open. This is day 10 of our Witch's Garden, and day 10 is Whorehound.
Just love the name, Whorehound.
So that's the name, Whorehound, Horehound, and that's the picture.
It's just such a medieval.
Right. And since we have the Hounds of Hell,
yeah,
we thought, oh, we have to do that. Okay, and that is the yarn. It's another tweed, and it's a sagey green.
Love it.
And it's a really good color.
Yeah.
A really good color. Okay.
Mine comes in a black envelope. So this was our cross-stitch retreat in a box from the Black Needle Society for Halloween.
Do we get the pattern?
Night Spirit Studio.
So you get 3 different patterns with this. You have the Ouija board that says go away, a pumpkin, and then it's called Morning Halloween.
And I think the Morning Halloween is more of an
embroidery?
An embroidery. It's not a cross-stitch. Okay, very cool. Still doesn't have anything to do with the floss we got at the beginning.
I am intrigued by this Ouija board go away.
Yeah.
It says go away, I'm reading. It's just very interesting to me.
Yes.
Okay. Huh. That is very cool. So there. That's day 11. Alrighty.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, here we go. Ready?
I have a synopsis.
Okay. This is all about the Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate.
Okay, so the synopsis of the book is a new novel inspired by historical events, a story of 3 young women on a journey in search of family amidst the destruction of the post-Civil War South, and of a modern-day teacher who rediscovers their story and its connection to her own students' lives. Lisa Wingate brings to life stories from actual lost friends advertisements that appeared in the Southern newspapers after the Civil War as freed slaves desperately searched for loved ones who had been sold off. Louisiana, 1875, in the tumultuous aftermath of Reconstruction, 3 young women set off as unwilling companions on a perilous quest. Lavinia, the pampered heir to a now destitute plantation, Juno Jane, her illegitimate freeborn Creole half-sister, and Hanny, Lavinia's former slave. Each carries private wounds and powerful secrets as they head for Texas, following dangerous roads rife with ruthless vigilantes and soldiers still fighting a war lost a decade before. For Lavinia and Juno Jane, the journey is one of inheritance and financial desperation, but for Hanny, torn from her mother and 8 siblings before slavery's end, the pilgrimage westward reignites an agonizing question. Could her long-lost family still be out there? Beyond the swamps lie the seemingly limitless frontiers of Texas and improbably hope. Louisiana, 1987, for the first-year teacher Benedetta Silva, a subsidized job at a poor rural school seems like the ticket to canceling her hefty student debt until she lands in a tiny, out-of-step Mississippi River town. Augustine, Louisiana, seems suspicious of new ideas and new people, and Benny can scarcely comprehend the lives of her poverty-stricken students. But amid the gnarled oaks and rundown plantation homes lies the century-old history of 3 young women, a long-ago journey, and a hidden book that could change everything.
Okay.
Now I just want to read it again.
So, overall reaction.
5-star.
Yes, definitely 5-star.
There was one part, like the very last bit at the end, that almost made it a 4-star for me, but otherwise 5-star.
Okay, I can't wait to hear what that was. But I really, really love this book.
Yeah.
And there was one point towards the end where sobbing out loud, and I looked over the other day, and Helen's
Trying to sew.
She can't even see the sewing machine. I'm like, oh, we're going to be talking about the book of Lost Pens. Because Helen just hit that point.
We both did it via Audible, because I do want to mention, because it's an excellent, excellent production.
Yes.
2 narrators, and I thought they were great.
Oh, they were so good.
Yeah.
They were really so good. So the book goes back and forth between 1875 and 1985, right? 87. So in 1875, it's set in Louisiana and then wandering through the south to Texas. So in 1987, it's set in Augustine, Louisiana. And going back and forth between the time periods, sometimes it's kind of jarring when you're doing this, and sometimes you really like one over the other, because you were saying...
Yeah, I was usually I am much more interested in the past, because that's, I mean, most authors use the present story as a vehicle to get to the past.
Right.
But this one I was invested in both stories, preferred the past still, but I was equally invested in the future.
Yes.
Because I wanted to see, it's not immediately evident, there's the underlining Gosford family, but it's not immediately clear how they're going to tie the 2 together.
Right.
So,
and besides, they had some great characters in the present. Those kids were fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, she really did some great characters of the high school kids.
And then the old plantation too.
Yes.
The house.
Oh,
so
you just want to go and explore it.
Yeah, and
because it sounds fascinating.
The graveyard.
Yeah.
So
the 2 graveyards.
Yeah.
Because there's the one that's marked and the one that's not
marked. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of, I mean, I don't read a lot that has to do with the Civil War, but it's one to me that just really, in a very subtle, gut-punching way, brought to the forefront the horrible, horrible things.
Yeah. That slavery was, and the way the slaves were treated, and just the journey that Hanny and Lavinia and Juno Jane went on, and all the violence and danger that was just being out on the road.
I mean, because Texas was practically uncharted territory.
Right.
And the strength of the 3 women to do it, the 2.
And it was the lawlessness.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Oh, no.
There was nothing that was keeping these men in check from...
Except Elam Salt.
Right. From going around and just attacking people or kidnapping people.
Yeah, and just just because the war was lost, to them it wasn't, and they were trying to, because there's a whole group trying to bring it back.
Right.
Yeah, she did a great job describing the whole
Right.
situation and just.
Okay, so we're going to get into specifics now. So if you haven't read it, please, and you want to, please stop now and come back after you've read
And
it.
it's well worth the read. There's, as I said before, there's nothing overly spoilery that we're going to talk about that you won't figure out from reading the book. It's just nice to kind of stumble on all of it on your own. So.
Okay, so at the beginning, when you're learning about Hanny, and Hanny is a freed ex-slave, but she is working.
She's they're working to.
As towards owning their own, she's a sharecropper, so she's going to be owning a piece of the land with the group that she is.
Well,
living
I mean,
with.
you start off with her being split, because what they did was as the Civil War progressed and it was evident that the North was going to win, some of the Southern plantation owners took their slaves and went to Texas and hid them in Texas so that they could not be freed and they would not lose their property. And you start with Hanny's family being brought to Texas by a family member of the plantation owner, and he is slowly but surely selling them off, and her mother has ingrained in her and taught her from birth practically to recite the names of her family. From her
that
aunt,
was just.
and it's just, Aunt Ginny, owned by the Gosfords, sold to, and it's just keeping the family history in your head because you want to be able to try and find them. And so she has that, and then they also have the beads from her grandmother, where each family member got 3 beads so that they would know
3 blue beads.
3 blue beads so that they would know each other later down the road if they got when they got separated, to try and find each other. And it was the blue beads that played such a huge part
At the end, yeah.
in the end, and throughout the whole story is her holding on and trying to get those beads.
Yeah. When she is at the beginning of when the story really starts going, she, with a group of other ex-slaves, are working the land at Gosford Hall to they're sharecroppers, which means that they are going to work for a certain amount of time and then the land is theirs to do with as they wish. And the owner of the plantation has gone off and has not come home when he was supposed to, and
He's gone to look for his son.
the paperwork isn't there as to, because it's coming up on the end of their sharecropping period where the land should become theirs, but the paperwork isn't there even though he's promised it to them. So she's worried about whether they're going to be able to keep the land that they've been working towards. Lavinia is the daughter of the owner of the plantation, and she is looking for the papers that prove that the plantation will stay in her family.
Right.
Juno Jane is her half-sister, illegitimate half-sister from a Creole family that her father was involved with. And she has come to Gosford to find the papers that her father said were there that would prove that she's getting part of the inheritance. So Lavinia and Juno Jane are trying to find the inheritance, and Hanny is trying to hold on to the sharecropper part of her land because they've been working it. She wants to make sure they're going to get it. So when Lavinia and Juno Jane go off to supposedly find someone who's going to help them find the inheritance, Hanny goes with them. And
but she's sneaking because she's dressed as a boy,
right,
as a one of to drive the wagon. So they don't know that she's there yet.
And Lavinia is not really going to find the inheritance papers. She's
just going to get rid of Juno Jane
because she wants to get rid of her. And did you think what happened to Lavinia was karma?
Well, it came swift.
It did.
She was a horrible person.
She was, but I'm not sure she deserved what she got.
And Yeah, that was
What Lavinia was doing was she was taking Juno Jane and she was planning to sell her to one of
the bad people.
the bad people who would then sell her to
Into prostitution, essentially.
basically, yeah. And what she didn't realize was that these people really are horrible people, and
They
they
just
were
took
taking
both
both
of them.
Yeah. And Hanny, who looks like she's the wagging boy,
Yeah.
had to stay outside the building, so she didn't go in. So she just was waiting for the two women to come out again. And well, no, I say women; they were girls.
Yeah.
The two girls to come out again, and when she realizes that they're not coming out, she decides that she's going to try and find them.
Well, she follows them because she knows they're in the trunks, and she fights with herself. She's like, "This is not my problem.
Right.
They were never nice. I owe them nothing." But she's just a good person, and
She's
does
a
it.
decent person,
and she
you know?
just does it. So, but I mean, we don't have to go through the whole
Right.
story because we could be here for days.
Yes.
But I mean, and then the 1987 story is the Benny, who is the teacher, and she's doing anything she can to just try and get the attention of her students and corral her students. She has absolutely no control. And she comes up with the idea of doing living dialogues where they have to go research their past because they're all descendants of the Gosford plantation.
Right.
Whether it be plantation owner, slave, mix of the two. The whole town is pretty inbred.
Yeah.
So
However, it's run by
by the Gosfords.
by the Gosfords, who are a family that do not want any of their secrets let out.
Also, they're trying to keep the caste system in place. So, and these kids, they're endearing kids who are just, they're in abject poverty and given no chance to do anything or any, their parents are busy, so there's no control.
Right.
And she manages to grab their attention and give them this thing to work towards.
And
then the Gosfords are trying to squash the whole thing. So that's her whole. And I mean, it all started with her just trying to get books in the classroom. She just wanted books in the classroom so that she could
have them read something.
Have them read if they were reading in the classroom, then they were quiet. And so that she saw all these books in the old rundown plantation, and she wanted to get them. And that's how the whole thing started in the current.
And there were
story.
some really great characters there. Sarge, I love Sarge.
Oh, Sarge and
Sarge is a woman who spent time in the army and is now a handy person who comes and helps fix her roof and all that kind of thing. But she is no nonsense.
Puts Benny in her place.
Yeah, and but she is such a great character. When did you catch on that Moses might not be as bad as he appeared?
Almost immediately when because he was sent to kill the wagon boy, and he fumbled that.
Yeah.
And when he threw him off the boat, then I was sure.
Yes.
When he threw Hanny off the boat, then I was sure that it was just, I hope you can swim because that's the only way I'm saving your life.
Right.
So, and then McClatchy, just that kid. And at the end, where you read from the time capsule that the McClatchy family was a huge contributor in getting the library started. I'm just like, oh, I love that.
He really was. He was a great character.
Yeah. He was very in and out. There wasn't much to it. He wasn't in it very long, but he was just one of those characters that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And you're so glad that he played such a prominent part in the end. But they in their travels, Hanny and Juno Jane and Lavinia, who is now broken. I mean,
really broken.
Yeah, they broke her brain, and but they get sick and they take refuge in a church, and the church is wallpapered with the pages of the Southern newspapers that are running the list of lost friends. And that's where Hanny first finds out about the fact that you can, for 50 cents, you can put essentially a classified ad in these Southern newspapers and explaining who you are, who you're looking for. And they send the newspapers to the pastors and the reverends of the churches to read out at Sunday services so that people can start to reunite with their family. And she and Juno Jane, on their travels from Louisiana to Texas, are taking information.
I thought that was so...
Yeah.
I mean, that just...
Because
that
Juno
got me.
Jane can read and write, and so each person, ex-slave or person that's looking for someone that they meet, they're not taking money, except for the 50 cents to pay for the listing. And they also take the list from town to town and spread the word from town to town of the names that they have gathered. So that just...
And I thought it was really fascinating that Lisa Wingate got the idea from this book when the curator from the Lost Friends Museum sent her a couple of the clippings, and throughout the book, the people that are reading their advertisements are actual advertisements from the Lost Friends column, and I love that touch of history.
Each new chapter starts with a clipping,
right?
Somebody reading one of the clippings, and it's just, and Hanny, as they go from town to town, is asking anybody about, have you seen anybody that looks like me that's got the blue beads? And when she lost the blue beads in the river, it was just terrible because it was her one tie to her family.
Right.
And then, McClatchy finds her beads. And the beads are what brings her, gets her to her family.
Yeah.
In the end.
In the end.
Oh my God.
I'm going to do it again every time. Yep. When she falls to her knees and she just says, "It's me, Hanny." Oh my God.
Anyway. It's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Yes, it is.
I cannot recommend it enough.
Okay, so what was the part that made it almost 4 stars?
Oh, throwing in the fact that Benny had a baby and had to give it up.
Oh yeah, that had absolutely nothing to do with anything.
I mean, it was just, last line of the book. Oh yeah, and I'm thinking about the kid I gave up. But really, that's how you're going to explain why her life is such a mess?
Right.
I really think that they should have brought that in sooner.
I didn't think they needed it at all.
I didn't either, but there was always the underlining what makes her an outcast in her family. Because Hanny's the outcast and Juno Jane is the outcast.
But yeah, no, it's just...
And it was, but so if you were going to do it, you should have been dropping hints along the way. And there was absolutely nothing. It was just this thing to throw in at the end. And it was just like, okay, either bring in a book immediately afterwards that's her looking for her daughter.
Right.
Or why did you do it?
Right, yeah.
There was absolutely no need for it.
No, I didn't. I really thought that it didn't affect me as much. It was just more, really?
Yeah, why?
Why did you do that?
And it was just, that kind of, it almost, it just kind of, it took just a little bit of the shine off.
Okay.
How good the book was. Just a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so we recommend this very strongly.
If you have Audible, I strongly recommend.
Yeah, if you've read it
production.
and you want to listen to it, it's just, it was so phenomenally done. I thought it was great.
Yeah, she has, because we read Before We Were Yours, and then the Book of Lost Friends, so Lisa Wingate. I will go in search of her other books.
Yes. I said to Helen, she's one of the ones that if I see a new book by Lisa Wingate, it's bring it down.
Yeah, just we'll buy it.
We'll buy it. Okay, we hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Yes, go forth and create. It's a wet, rainy, tropical, stormy kind of day here.
Love it.
Yep.
So have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.